Hi, everyone. As you all know, May is the month of mental health awareness, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about myself and kind of open up and let people know who I am as a person and why I am the way I am. And yeah, I like to kind of talk from the heart and open up a little bit about who I am and where I've come from. And I think sharing our stories is super, super important. We did an activity with our gymnasts this year with our sports psychologists about opening up about our stories and each one of us being vulnerable in a circle and telling everything about us and who we are and why we're there. Um, and I'm not a crier. I don't cry. I feel sympathy and sadness when someone else is crying, and that makes me want to tear up. But normally, I'm not a person that cries, and I was crying during this when I was telling my story, and I felt like maybe it's not just my gymnasts that need to hear it. Maybe it's other people, and sharing your story and being vulnerable is super, super important. And I think I felt like today was the time and need to tell my story. So bear with me as I kind of talk through it. It's kind of long. Some parts are written out, some parts are not. But I'll talk. So I have two siblings. I have a brother and a sister whom I love. My brother and I have a defeated relationship right now. I have chosen to not speak or give him the attention he needs because of past things and choices he's made, and things that he's said to me that I have not gotten an apology or not. And like I said, I still love him, but I don't feel like I need to spend my time around someone that I don't feel like is exemplifying my values and how one should treat others and love others. And but I won't go into too much detail with that because I think it just makes me more angry than anything. And I have a younger sister. She's 6 years younger than me. She's great. We have our fights, we have our issues, but I think that's with any family, right? And I think I love her dearly. She'll always be my little sister. I'll always see her as that little 12-year-old girl, that you love so dearly. And yeah, it's hard. We're all growing up, right? And we're all getting older, but I think I can always say that, I'll always love my siblings no matter what. And many of you know, but many of you don't. I grew up with a single mom. My dad walked out on us three and my mom when I was just 6 years old, probably for the better. He was an alcoholic, came home every night, was abusive verbally and both physically to my mom. And one day I remember my mom was pregnant and he came home. I can't remember if it was night or day, but I do remember vividly that he was throwing keys and physically abusing my mother in front of me. And I knew, I didn't know, but I felt like I knew that he would not hurt me. And so the best way to stop it was for me to jump in between those two. And I literally stood between my mom and him and waited for him to leave and stop. And he finally up and left. And I think that was the last time that my mom ever let him in the house. And obviously for the better. I remember times when we would go with him, my brother and I, and when he would drop us off, my mom would leave us locked outside until he drove away, and then she would unlock the door to let us in. Um, and it was moments like that that I don't really think about too much, but when I look back at it, I'm just like, that is so crazy that she feared her life so much that she would lock us out and wait for him to leave in order just to let us in. And um, whew, it's deep, but yes, for the better. Um, my sister was born probably a month after I turned 6, just a month over after I turned 6. And I remember having to step up and, take that father lead in that role. And I know if you ask my mom right now, if I had to do that, she would say I wouldn't, she would say, you didn't have to do that. And I know I didn't have to, but I also knew that I needed help. And at 6 years old, I learned how to change a diaper. I learned how to feed and make a milk bottle. I was always wanting to hold my sister and rock her to sleep and take her from my mom at any point in time so my mom could get rest or take a nap. I just remember always wanting to help. What could I do? Can I do any more? And I think that's just super important growing up. Like, I took a lot of pride in my family, and I loved my siblings and my mom, and it was just us four, and I just knew that they were so special to me, and I needed to make sure that they were safe and that they were loved, and yeah. But as a child growing up, 6, 7, I played in so many sports. I played t-ball, flag football, which turned into baseball and then football. And I played all the sports, tennis. I remember wanting to play in everything. I'd see this person being like, I'm going to join this sport. I'd be like, I want to try that sport, or I want to try this sport. And I think it was super important to kind of delve into that. I was super athletic, and I wanted to try everything and do everything, and I was always challenged myself. I knew that I could be better at anything that I tried. But my athletic career and my sports career was pretty much shattered when my mom had major back surgery when I was 12 years old. She had a herniated disc, a couple of them in her thoracic spine, and so they had to be removed, and then she was fused. Her whole thoracic spine was fused with rods up and down her spine and C-clamped at every level. There was one final bolt at the end that was holding everything together. This left her bedridden for 9 months, and then therapy was there, and the last 3 months of that year she was limited mobility but was moving more. I remember getting my brother and sister up for school, making sure that we all got on the bus at the right time and got to school. I also remember cooking dinner every night. We'd get like Meals on Wheels or something because my mom was bedridden, so the hospital would bring food, but we would have to like make it. And my mom would always read the directions to me and make sure I was doing everything right from her bed all the way to the kitchen. And so I'd make dinner every night. I'd do laundry. Learned how to do pretty much everything, that you would need to do at 12 years old to kind of keep everything afloat. I even would watch my mom write out bills, and she had like a portfolio that kept track of every bill paid every month, and she showed me how it was done. And I just remember always wanting to like be an adult and help her out. And through those 9 months, I slept by my mom's side every single night in her bed. I was there in case she needed water, in case she was feeling a sharp pain and needed to be shifted, or whether she needed to sit up some days she just needed to sit up and I needed to help her. She was in a full body cast and had to lift her up and help her sit up. Um, and I did that for 9 months. And uh, I know I didn't have to, but again, that's what I felt like I had to do in that very moment of my life. Um, and I think that's kind of what changed me from um, being a kid and being an adult. And I think that's why I had such a hard time making friends. Um, I mean, I kind of had a difficult time making friends the way it was, but I mean, I was always different. Uh, and I wasn't like the other kids. Like, I always just was never like them. And I always wanted to fit in. I always wondered why I wasn't making friends. Um, I was always friendly. I could always talk to anyone and hang out with anyone. Um, but as far as like a friend group and like a solid friend group, I never had. You know, I was friends with this person here and this person here and this person here. Um, and so when it got to high school, I really had a hard time in high school, like making friends. I remember getting off the bus and going straight to the library, doing my homework, doing stuff. Um, I just didn't have that friend group that I could go talk to before school started and go sit at the table and hang out with a bunch of group of friends. Um, and that I just reflect on that knowing like I was trying so hard to be someone I wasn't, that I felt like I couldn't be my true self to make friends. And um, looking back, you know, obviously bullied, made fun of all the time, asked if I was gay, asked if this, that. And of course, I've always declined it. But looking back, I really wish I just lived my truth and told everyone. You know, I think I could have had better friends. I could have had better relationships had I just been myself. Um, and so I kind of dove straight into school, and that's all I focused on. I wanted straight A's all the time. I wanted to impress my mom. I wanted to show her that all her hard work will pay off. Like I will go to school and I will get good grades, and then I'll go to college and I'll get a good degree. And I wanted to be the first kid in my family to get a 4-year degree and graduate with that and go on and do great things. Um, and so after my sophomore year of high school, I decided to do college and school called PSEO. And so I decided to go um, to college instead of high school and take all my classes at the college level. One, I think that was really the best thing for me. I met some friends in college, even in my junior and senior year of high school, that I felt like I connected to better. It was nice not being in the same routine every single day like high school was. Um, and so by my senior year, I was not even really at the school ever. Um, I would go to the YMCA, I would work. I had a job ever since I was 15 years old. Um, 10 days after 15, my mom was like, "You need a job. I'm not paying for your cell phone. I'm not paying for a car. I'm not paying for anything. If you want it, you're paying for it." And I look back at that and I remember just being so upset and angry that I had to work and um, in order to pay for things like that and get the things that I wanted. But I remember working my butt off that, you know, right after I turned 15, got my first paycheck, went to the store, got a cell phone, paid that every month. And then I just saved my money that whole rest of that year and bought my car in cash when I turned 16 and got my license. Um, and just kind of worked my way all the way up to everything. My first job was at McDonald's. I know a lot of people laugh at McDonald's, but I take a lot of pride in working at McDonald's. I was a crew member, then a crew trainer, then a crew chief, and then a manager. So every year I got promoted, and I took a lot of like I was really successful there, and I really enjoyed being there, and I loved moving up every year. I felt like I had something to work towards every single year to get better. I was like, wow, I can be a manager next year. I'm going to work really hard. And I did that. And then my first 2 years of college, I worked at McDonald's full time as a manager while going to school. I also got a job coaching gymnastics that I was doing on top of working at McDonald's while going to school full time and playing volleyball. And so I dove into a lot of things, and that all helped me pay for things and do things. My mom didn't help pay for anything, and she had two other kids to support, and other things, and I don't regret anything. I'm not mad that she didn't support me. I'm glad that I was forced to figure out how to support myself. She made me super independent, and I think I was more independent than I thought at a younger age. Um, and it wasn't until my junior year that I decided to come out. Um, that was probably the hardest year of my life, um, because even people in college would ask me, "Are you gay?" I'd be like, "No, no." And um, it was so hard to fight that inner self. Like, I just wasn't being me. I just still couldn't be me as much as I was being myself in college and meeting so many friends. Like, I still was hiding something so very important in my life. And um, I decided to come out to my sister. She was the very first person I told. Um, and we cried, we talked. She said, "I knew it." Um, and just knowing that I had her support just made it so much easier to tell other people. I, like, she didn't hate me, she didn't treat me any differently. And of course, my sister and I have always had like a tight knit relationship, so it wasn't anything like crazy when I told her. Um, and then uh, I decided to write a letter to my mom. I was so nervous about telling her in person, but I decided to write a letter, and it was a long letter, obviously, but it was one page. Um, I set up a time and date that we were going to meet, um, and we were supposed to meet somewhere, and I was like, and then she called and was like, "Actually, can we meet at home?" And I was like, oh no, she ruined all the plans. Um, but I worked with it, and I said, that's fine. And I remember meeting at the house, and I sat her down, and I was like, "Mom, I need you to read this letter, but I don't want you to say anything until you've read it all." And um, obviously, it took a lot of time to write out and everything, and I'd already come out to some of my friends before coming out to my mom. And I remember my friend Alyssa texting me that morning before I went and saw my mom, and I woke up to the text, and it said, "Just know I'm so very proud of you." And like, I still get really choked up um, when I say that, because just having someone text you that they're proud of you really changes like everything about you in your life. And those three words, you just are like, wow, they're so powerful. And now in my life, when I'm coaching, when I'm doing stuff, I really do tell people that. I think it's super important, and those are really, really powerful words. And so I cried that whole morning just knowing that I got that text message. And I just felt like I could take on the world after that. And I, drove to my mom's, and I had her read it, and pretty much the first sentence was like, "I love you, and I hope after reading this you don't love me any less." Um, And right there after she read that sentence, she started tearing up and she goes, I can't believe you would think I would love you any less. I was like, Mom, you got to keep reading. And by the end of it, the last sentence said, I'm still the same son. I'm still your same son. I'm still Chris. But you know one more thing about me, that's all. And we hugged and we cried, and it was literally like the most liberating feeling in my life. That my hero, the number one person I looked up to in my life, loved me for who I was. And it was literally like the best day of my life. And so, of course, I went on to finish school. I graduated. I really had a huge future in wanting to go to law school. But after realizing like that really wasn't a passion of mine, after I did an internship and a shadow experiment, I was like, that's just not what I want to do. But through my internship, I met my ex of 4 years, and I don't talk much about it. I literally learned so much from that relationship, so much about myself, about him, just about everything in life. And I look back and there were lots of tough parts and hard things and lots of lessons I've learned, but and I hope he can say the same, but I had some of the best things in life come out of that as well. And I kind of realized who I was and who I wanted to be. And after 4 years, I decided I was going to go back to school and get my master's degree. And I wanted to coach college gymnastics. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I'm very much a person that when I set my mind to something, I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to do it, whether someone doesn't believe in me or does not, and so I decided to apply for master's school. I got in. Yay, right? And I reached out to the University of Minnesota coaching staff, and after an interview and such and sending them my resume, I was brought on board to help with the team and volunteer and be there, and I learned so much through them, and again learned so much more about myself and if this was the right path for me. And I took so much pride in my grades in my master's school. Like I look back and I'm just like, wow, I did that, and some kid, growing up with a single mom and not having any money whatsoever to do anything, and having free lunches all the way through high school, and and I got my master's degree, and I was like, I'm doing this, and I got a 3 out of the 4 semesters. I got a 4.0. I graduated with a 3.75 GPA. And I was super, super proud of myself. That was 2 long years of lots of change and lots of stress. That's also when I tore my ACL, was my first year of my master's school. And boy, was that hard. That was, wow. I thought many things in life were difficult, but that one was a huge change. I was working out 6 days a week, doing yoga and playing volleyball, and literally I felt like my life was just twisted upside down instantly when that happened. And not that I thought the world was ending, but anyone who knows me, I'm really dramatic, and that's pretty much what I thought. I thought my life was over. And of course, I decided to get the surgery, and I was super stubborn with the doctor, and he wanted to do my patella tendon. I was like, no. I was like, you just want to do that because it's easier. I was like, I've done my research. I want my hamstring. And he was like, that's a more complicated surgery. And I was like, I don't care. And I just didn't want patellar tendonitis. I was like, I jump way too much, and if I'm getting back to volleyball, I do not want that. And I've read so many people that got their patellar tendon one that it was like tendonitis flare up everywhere. And so, oops. And so, lo and behold, I ended up getting the hamstring one and recovered so well. And I was so determined to like work hard and do my PT that I surpassed all my physical therapist's like beliefs. Like she was just like, I cannot believe you're doing this. At 12 weeks, I was running my first mile, and and I got cleared at 5 months, and I played in a volleyball tournament 1 week after that, in Minneapolis's annual Pride tournament. And I think like I owe everything like that, my school, everything to my mom. I get upset sometimes, and I've gotten upset at her because I'm like, you've always held me to a higher standard than my siblings. And I look back when I said that because I said it when I was mad. I was like, you've always held me to a higher standard, and they just get it off easy, and you never really cared what they do. And but as I look back and I reflect and I've grown, I know that it was me that held myself to that higher standard. Wow, I do not cry this often. And so, once I realized that, like, I know my mom was there to support me and she loved me, and she always instilled that I could do anything I wanted in life, and as long as you have a dream and a will, and wow. And so I'm really thankful for my friends and for my mom and for pushing me just to be the person I am today. And who would have thunk that 2 years post grad school and everything, that here I am coaching Division I gymnastics. It's unreal to even think that this is where I am right now. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities. One, for Minnesota, even taking a chance on a young kid with never did gymnastics, wanting to coach Division I gymnastics, like what? But also really, really proud of myself. I've been through a lot, and I know this brings back to Mental Health Awareness Month, but I just want everyone to know that it's not easy. And, I've gone through things that I don't want anyone to ever go through. And both life, both, bullying, both school, just things that I know that I couldn't imagine anyone else going through, and I would not want them to. I am just so happy where I am right now, and I still get depressed here and there and go back to my childhood and my issues and why am I this way, and I try to dive deeper into my feelings about this is maybe why I feel this way. I have not ever seen a therapist, something I've highly considered, but I also feel like it's not something I totally need, but I feel like everyone says that, right? They don't need one. But I think it would be really beneficial for me to go and just talk out my feelings and figure out just more about myself and talk to, like they can help pull stuff out of you that you may not ever have known about yourself. And I am just so proud of my fight and my will and, Like I said, I've met so many people in my life, and wow, and no matter who I've met, whether I've known of them for a week or whether I've known them my whole life, they're all a true part of your journey, and they can be super super impactful. And I want everyone to know that, like, no matter who you meet, love them, treat them with respect, and you never know like what they're going through. You don't. And I'm not saying that people I've met have treated me crappy, because that's not true. And but I know that everyone that I run into or that I meet, I treat with dignity and with respect, and I give them a fair chance at being their true self. And I think if you open that up to them, like, you can, that's just like your personality and your character. And um wow, I just need to take a deep breath. I think I'm gonna cry. Gosh. Um, but I also want everyone to know, like, don't lose who you are. Don't lose sight of who you are, because life is so crazy. And I mean, even more so right now. And as hard as it was for me growing up, and all of the bullying and all of the pressures and all of the just struggles I've gone through my whole life, like fighting two identities of who I was before I came out. And I'm still that very shy kid, that comes off as, I don't want to talk to him, he looks like he's mean, to but I'm not. I just really come off very closed, um because that's just me protecting myself. It has nothing to do with other people. And um I feel like when they say hi and they come and we meet and we open up, like, they actually realize, wow, he's a really good person inside and out. And I just want everyone to live your truth and be proud of that and be proud of who you are. Like, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone, and you don't have to force yourself to be someone you're not. And um your truest friends will love you for the exact person that you are. Um Not for a facade, not for someone you try to be or want to be, but for literally the very person you are. And I think that's super, super great and important. Um, and I also want to discuss that, you know, you will never be good enough for the wrong person, right? Um, I'll say that again. You'll never, ever be good enough for the wrong person. And I grew up always trying to fit in, always trying to fit the mold, wearing the right clothes, being focused on all the wrong things, and proving to people that I was always good enough. Like, I always felt like I needed to prove to people that I'm good enough. Like, just love me. Like, I'm good enough. And um, this was in life and friendships and relationships and volleyball. And what I've learned is that I am enough. And if people can't see your value or your worth, they really don't deserve to be a part of you and a part of your life. And I think this, like, is so important in sports and athletics as well, because so many people I've played with are always like, I just don't know if you're good enough for my team, or if you're this or that. And sometimes when people say that, you rise up to the challenge and you decide that you are a better person and you can be anyone you want to be. And I know that some of the best teams that I've played on have been teams that love me. There's no pressure to be great. There's no pressure to be anyone different. It's just, you just play, be your full heart, and just be everything that you can be. And that'll be the best part about the whole team. And that it's a lot of times volleyball right now for me is more about the friendships, the impact it makes on my life. And I've gone through college sports where everything was about winning and wanting to be the best. And I think now that I take more pride in that, like, it's just more of an extracurricular activity for me. It's, yes, I want to win, but I also want to create friendships, and I also want to just have fun, and I want to enjoy the experience. And I think that's super important for people to understand. And if that's not for you, and if that's not something you want on your team, then I don't want to be on your team. Um, and so I think I've learned a lot in the last couple of years just about myself and what I want and who I want to be. Um, and I know that down the road, I am destined to be a father. Like, that is literally my ultimate goal in life, is to have children. And whether that's one, whether that's two, I have no clue. But I just know that I am destined to be a dad. I love kids, like, with all my heart. I love my nieces and nephews to death. Um, I love my best friend's daughter so much. And I just know that one day I'm going to give that love to my own child. And I think one of the reasons why I want to be a dad is because I didn't get that. And I want to show him just what being a father is. And wow, I'm gonna have to wash this sweatshirt right after this. But I just feel like it's not that I want to prove anyone anything, like, because my goal in life is not to just prove people wrong and prove them, but like, I just want to be a better person than he was. And I want to give a child the love that they deserve. And but yes, short story. I want to be a dad, and I know people and my friends have said, like, you will make the greatest dad ever, and you will be the greatest dad ever, and that's so great to hear, because I really think that too. And wow, yeah, this is my story, right? Kind of crazy. But I think I just want to leave you with a good quote from Michelle Obama, because I just watched The Becoming and I thought it was amazing. And she said that so many of us go through life with our stories hidden, feeling ashamed or afraid when our whole truth doesn't live up to some established ideal. And I think that's really, really important, that we don't need to live someone else's truth or be someone that we're not, to live up to something that has been so-called established, right? And I think that's really, really important. And I just want to thank you guys for listening. And I know this wasn't easy for me, but it might not be easy for you guys watching it as well, for me telling my story. But I hope it inspires someone else to be honest and to love who they are. I hope it inspires others like me to know they're not alone. We all live and cope with demons that we didn't want. But I know we're stronger than those demons inside us. And so just know that when you're true and you be happy and you be selfless, but most importantly, being yourself, the truest friends and truest people in your life will be right by your side to carry you through it. And so thank you again for listening. And I love you all. I'm here if you ever need to talk. But yeah, You want to say bye?